Welcome back to another video with me, Disney Lorcana. Carrying on our series of looking at some of the best new cards in Azurite Sea, in today's video we'll be looking at Ruby and Sapphire. Of course, as always, if you do find that you like this video, then please either drop a like or maybe even subscribe as well if you're kind of feeling a bit generous. Now I can't lie, I think overall these two colours might have got the least amount of impactful cards this set, but that being said, some of them are absolutely fantastic, and some of them open up opportunities for new decks to emerge or old ideas to become actual potentially playable decks. So without further ado, let's get at it. First on the list is Vanellope von Schweetz, Gutsy Go-Getter. Vanellope is a 3-cost inkable, she's got a 2/3 stat line and quest for 1, and her ability, as ready as I'll ever be, it says at the start of your turn, this character is at a location, draw a card, and gain 1 lore. And here's the thing, if people are going to be running aggressive decks at the start of the set, I guarantee they'll have a tough time getting rid of locations. Locations decks got a lot of support in this set, and in Ruby this is especially the case. There's going to be quite a few cards that we're going to look at that have locations in the effect, and honestly all of them look quite playable. And this card's no exception. Being able to draw a card and gain a lore at the start of your turn is kind of crazy. Well, people love Beast Relentless, and that lets you draw an additional card at the start of your turn. This lets you draw a card and gain a lore at the start of your turn, so it's especially cracked. And I mean, yes, it doesn't have the survivability of Beast, but do you know what? 3 health is still enough for me. So I'm keeping an eye on what people can cook up with this card. Moana, Self-Taught Sailor. Now this is a 1-cost inkable with a 3/2 stat line, quest for 1. 3/2 stat line on a 1-cost? What's the catch? Well, I'll tell you what the catch is. She can't challenge unless you have a captain character in play. Well, she's a pirate, and in a red steel pirates deck, or red anything pirates deck, this card seems absolutely crazy. And there are 2-cost captains out there, like Piglet, for an example. That's probably the most playable one. So maybe we're looking at this being included in a Ruby Amber Pirates deck, along with the new Shift Moana, which we're going to look at right now. Meet Moana, the Kakamora leader. Moana costs 7 to play, she's also inkable. However, you can play her for shift 5 if you've got a little Moana available. She's got a 6/5 stat line and quest for 1, but the most important thing is probably her ability, Gathering Forces. When you play her, you'll be able to move any number of your characters to the same location for free, and you gain a lore for each character you moved. And that includes her as well, so even if you play her just on her own, you can still move her to a location for free. And there are loads of different locations that would be good to use this ability on, but ones that stick out to me are RLS Legacy, Treasure Mountain, and of course the Sugar Rush Speedway finish line. And what's fortunate as well is that her ability doesn't require you to shift her in order to use it. Otherwise I'm pretty sure this character would feel absolutely awful to play for 7 ink. Moving swiftly on to one of the most feared cards to be announced this set, and that is Maui, Half Shark. Like he needs any further introduction, Maui is a 6-cost inkable with a 7/5 stat line. He has evasive and he quests for 1, but check these abilities as well. So he has Chee-hoo! Whenever this character challenges another character, you may return an action card from your discard to your hand. I mean, that on its own is pretty cracked. I mean, you'd be able to return any action that you've played in a game back to your hand, and that could be, well, anything from B-Prep to, I've seen people talking about using it for Pirate's Life, especially given his secondary ability, which is Wayfinding. Whenever you play an action, gain 1 lore. So that makes cards like Pirate's Life even better, because they're essentially swinging for 5 lore. Only one slight problem with this character is he doesn't actually have any on-play effects, meaning that it's going to be quite easy to play around him if you've got the right removal. A quick Zeus or Let It Go should sort him out, but if you can play him in combination with cards such as Vitalisphere or Peter Pan Shadow Finder and give him Rush, then it's a different story, and he can attack straight away and get you that action back. I do think this card is terrifying, but I think the fact that he doesn't have Rush makes him a little less scary than we all thought. But we'll have to wait and see what he's like in practice. Next up is Scar, Heartless Hunter. Scar's a 5-cost uninkable, although his promo misprint might suggest otherwise. He's got a 4/2 stat line and quest for 3. His ability says when you play this character, deal 2 damage to chosen character of yours to deal 2 damage to another chosen character. So he's got built-in Teeth and Ambitions, which is actually what the ability is called. Of course, there's a slight problem. If you play him on his own, he will blow himself up. So try not to do that. And yes, I know 2 health on a 5 cost is pretty bad, but hear me out here. The reason that he makes the cut on this list is because 1, he quests for 3, but 2, and 2 might just be the most important, is that in decks that have a tough time dealing with discard, he's able to remove the Diablos, and that's actually quite important. So think of decks like Mufasa decks that really struggle against the discard matchup. Well, Scar here will be able to take out the Diablos whilst also providing a quest for 3 body that can also deal 4 damage if it needs to. And I think that's actually going to be quite important for Mufasa decks. Ironic really, given that it's Scar. And last but certainly not least for the Ruby cards, we have the Islands I Pulled from the Sea. This is a 3-cost song, and it lets you search your deck for a location card, reveal it, and then put it in your hand, and then shuffle your deck. Remember I was talking about location decks being pretty strong? Well, they've also got a tutor now, and not only that, but it's singable as well, so they can just play the location that they found from their deck straight away, most likely. Oh, and for those of you that aren't sure what tutor means, a tutor card is a card that finds another card from within your deck. The term actually comes from Magic the Gathering, a card called Diabolic Tutor that lets you search for a card in your library, which is your deck in Magic. So there's a little bit of card game history for you. Okay, that's Ruby all wrapped up, so now let's take a look at the Sapphire cards for this set. First is a card that we've briefly touched on in a previous video, and that is Oswald, the Lucky Rabbit. Oswald is a 2-cost uninkable with a 2/1 stat line. He quests for 2, but his best feature is of course his effect. Favourable Chance says during your turn, whenever a card is put into your inkwell, you may reveal the top card of your deck. If it's an item card, you may play that item for free, and it enters play exerted. Otherwise, put it to the bottom of your deck. So yeah, that's right, there's a chance to play cards like Lucky Dime for free. Obviously for this card to be effective, it has to be really played in a items deck. But previously, item decks that we've seen are red-blue, and so he fits right in there. And so I can imagine the value you can get out of this card is insane in those decks. And since his ability is triggered upon putting a card in your inkwell, that means he doesn't have to turn sideways if he doesn't need to. Wasabi, the Methodical Engineer, a 4-cost inkable with a 3/3 stat line. He quests for 1, but let's be honest, he's mainly being used for his effects. Blades of Fury says when you play this character, you may banish chosen item. Its player gains 1 lore. It can be similar to Judy Hopps, but instead of drawing a card, it gains them a lore instead. On top of that, he has quick reflexes. During your turn, this character gains evasive. I don't see this being included in much decks outside of Blurple, since they have answers for evasive cards. And whilst Blurple does have answers for evasive cards, what it is also missing is item removal, which Wasabi provides along with a 3/3 body that can hit evasives. It just helps tackle some of Blurple's weaknesses, so I expect to see it in that deck mostly. Onto a card that I've mentioned before, and that is Baymax Armoured Companion. This 5-cost 2/6 body that quests for 2 has a fantastic effect that when you play him, and also when he quests, you can remove up to 2 damage from another chosen character of yours. You gain 1 lore for each 1 damage removed this way, so you gain up to 2 lore from it basically. You know as well as I do if you watch my previous video that I like the idea of this in a Grandpappy themed deck. But on top of that, he is just a big 6 health body that still quests for 2 and allows some of your characters to fight another day. So overall I do think this card is just quite handy, and probably will find a place in some blue decks, but mainly Grandpappy ones, and that's why I mentioned him. You know, in the past few sets we've had in Lorcana, I've seen people try to make an aerial OTK deck work, and perhaps Alice, the Savvy Sailor here, is the card to do that. Alice is a 3-cost uninkable with a 1/4 body, and she quests for 2. She has Ward, and also an ability that whenever she quests, another character of yours gains +1 lore and gains ward until the start of your next turn. So yes, what I'm saying is if you quest on Alice and give Ariel the +1 lore, along with Medal of Heroes, you're looking at Ariel questing for 4 every time you play an item that turn. It's never been a better time to try Ariel OTK. I honestly can't see this card being used in much other than that, but I thought it was a really cool card that might enable that deck to be even better. Here comes the biggest card for blue this set, the most terrifying card you'll ever see. And what is it? Well, it's a common. It's Sail the Azurite Sea. Yeah, this card's fantastic though. It says this turn you may put an additional card from your hand into your inkwell face down. Draw a card. But it's important to mention that this works in the same way as inking normally, so you still have to show this to your opponent. It's not the same as Fishbone Quill or Tipo that allow you to put any card face down. This lets you just put an additional card from your hand into your inkwell. You still have to reveal to your opponent that it is indeed an inkable card, to stop cheating of course. The lines of play that I've seen with this card that make it so strong are lines such as playing Tipo on turn 2 and then on turn 3 playing this card and Brawl on turn 3. That is turn 3 spending 5 ink, so you're ramping and removing something off the board, which is absolutely nuts. So yes, this card is terrifying. It is an extremely strong card, and I should expect to see it in pretty much every blue deck. Not only that, but it is of course a cantrip. It replaces itself, it draws a card. So it's even going to make your game against discard even better. The only slight drawback that I can think of is that it does demand that you have an inkable card in your hand to ink, meaning that if you want this card to work, then perhaps the uninkable count in decks such as Ruby Sapphire or Blue Steel will have to be reduced a little bit. And finally, the last card that I want to talk about from Sapphire is Prepare Your Bot. This is a 1-cost inkable action that says you can either ready a chosen item or ready chosen robot character, and they can't quest for the rest of this turn. But I'm going to be real with you, it's the first option that I'm interested in, ready chosen item. And more so, I'm only interested in the interaction with one item in particular, and that is of course Lucky Dime. Being able to use Lucky Dime twice in a turn seems really strong. The only thing is it is a little bit situational, so perhaps this will remain as a 1 or 2 of in a deck, just in case you get that crazy chance to combo. And that concludes both my look into Ruby and Sapphire's new cards and my look into all of the new cards across all of the ink colours in set 6 Azurite Sea. Be sure to check out the videos covering the other colours if you haven't already, and don't forget to subscribe for more Lorcana content if you enjoyed the video. I'm going to be playing at the Axion tournament that's coming up soon. It'll be the first time that I get to competitively play with set 6 decks. I'm hoping to record some of my gameplay whilst I'm down there as well, and if I can, I'll make sure it goes up on this channel for you guys. But other than that, I've been Hazmat Lorcana, you've been you guys, and I will see you in the next one. Bye for now.